The ocean, which is the natural habitat for all aquatic animals, has become an increasingly dangerous place for them. Human carelessness has caused the body of water to be infiltrated with pollution. It's no wonder we are constantly hearing stories about whales and sea turtles entangled in nets. While our hearts are touched by stories of successful animal rescues, those missions were not an easy feat. An animal who finds itself in danger would follow its own protective instinct and consider other species a threat. That's what makes animal rescue missions challenging and difficult. It could easily become life-threatening to both the animal and the rescuer. What exactly prompted a fisherman to dive into the water with a thrashing humpback whale? During the summer months, humpback whales swim the coast of California to Alaska. Then they migrate to the warm waters of Hawaii, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Japan during the breeding season. These creatures could weigh up to 40 tons and can grow up to 50 feet long. It's no wonder when whales get entangled in fishing lines or nets used for maritime activities, the fishermen who find them would call the authorities to handle the rescue mission. A swipe from a thrashing whale could easily overturn a fishing boat. However, when Nicholas Tarrin and Sam Sinstelain found a humpback whale tangled in the rope attached to a buoy, they couldn't just stay and watch. Morro Bay is a known area for whale watching. From mid or late December through April, gray whales could be seen swimming in these waters. Humpback whales float along the coast from April or May through October or November, sometimes as late as December. Seeing a humpback swimming in these waters isn't unusual, but something caught the attention of some fishermen. Nicholas and Sam are commercial eel fishermen who were coming in from a day of fishing. They were in Morro Bay when they spotted a humpback whale struggling in the water. It was just swimming in counterclockwise circles, Nicholas, Sam's crewman who shot the infamous video, said. That behavior could only mean one thing. Being fishermen, Nicholas and Sam are used to seeing similar sea creatures in their natural habitat. Immediately, they knew there was something unusual with this humpback whale. It was dragging a white buoy that was wrapped around its tail. The huge animal was splashing on the surface of the water, trying to get free from the rope it was trapped in. The animal continuously splashed on the surface of the water, trying to break free. From the way it was circling around the same area, it became obvious that something was holding it to the bottom. Not used to being restricted in the water, the whale grew stressed at its situation. The Coast Guard received their report and informed them they would send a rescue team to help the whale. After informing the authorities of the situation, the two fishermen couldn't wait around any longer. They decided to help the animal by cutting the buoy from the rope. The task took them an hour and a half to accomplish. Still, the Coast Guard hadn't shown up. 2 hours passed and there was still no sign of the Coast Guard. Cutting the buoy did not help the whale escape as the rope remained tangled around its back. That one rope was still holding him down to the ocean floor, explained Nicholas, and the whole time he was swimming in very tight counterclockwise circles because all that rope was still attached to the bottom of the ocean. The Coast Guard contacted the fishermen and informed them there's nothing more they could do. However, leaving the animal struggling for its freedom didn't sit right with them. They decided to take matters into their own hands. After learning that it would take hours before the whale could be rescued, time the fishermen believed the animal didn't have, they decided to help the whale on their own. They figured the whale wouldn't take the idea of humans jumping into the water from their boat positively, so they decided to communicate with it. Nicholas increased the volume on their radio and began to speak to the animal. In an interview to the Washington Post, Tarrin recounted how he communicated with the whale. He yelled, "We're your only hope. No one is coming here. You're either going to let Sam jump on you, or you're on your own." The two fishermen understood that simply jumping into the water with a stressed animal like the entangled whale would be dangerous. After all, they weren't trained to perform rescue operations. Despite that, they also knew that they couldn't just leave the poor animal that way until the Coast Guard arrived. They didn't know if talking to the animal would actually do anything, but they did it anyway. Somehow the whale understood and stopped splashing around. Although it continued squirming, it was still enough to give Sam a chance to come closer and cut the rope around it. When it was obvious that the Coast Guard wouldn't be arriving soon, Nicholas said, "That's when we decided to get Sam in the water." It was probably not the best decision, but together they concluded that it was the best way to help free the animal. Sam tried 2 times to jump on the whale, but failed. The whale kept diving under the water whenever he saw Sam jumping. Nicholas started filming the whole ordeal after Sam's 3rd attempt. This time, he managed to leap on his back. As Sam tried for the 3rd time to get on the whale's back, Nicholas whipped out his phone to record his friend's heroics. Sam was crawling up on the whale's back when the animal shook its tail. It almost crashed into the boat. He jumped in, was able to crawl up its back, and right then the whale intensely shook its tail. Almost hit the phone out of my hand, Nicholas narrated. It took a few attempts, but finally Sam was successfully settled on the back of the whale. The whale whipped its tail, trying to dislodge him from his back. Fortunately, the whale finally calmed down after sensing that Sam meant no harm. This allowed the fisherman to cut the rope with his knife. And that's when all the rest of the line fell back in the water and the whale swam free, said Nicholas. Sam raised his arms in triumph while the knife was held between his teeth. After more than 3 hours of waiting and struggling, the whale was finally free. It went for a deep dive, leaving behind the cheering rescuers. It was a courageous act, and although the authorities were extremely grateful that the whale was saved, they were a little upset. According to officials, that was not the right way to deal with the situation. Dealing with a massive animal is never safe or easy. Dealing with a massive animal that is stressed out and feeling threatened could be very dangerous. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Pacific Fisheries, it could have turned out really bad for the fishermen. Justin Wiesbeck, the spokesperson of Pacific Fisheries, stated in a press release, "We've had people die trying to get in the water, and just last year we lost one of our responders." Seeing an animal trapped in nets or fishing lines is heartbreaking to watch. Protocol suggests that you radio the authorities to report the situation and leave it to them to perform the rescue mission. It is normal for a person witnessing such a scene to have the urge to help. According to NOAA, even though it seems like it's a very stressful situation, we usually have days, weeks, sometimes even months to find these animals and get the gear off. The agency explained that while they were relieved that neither fishermen were harmed, they have a message for the public. The video of Sam's courageous act of saving the whale became viral, catching the attention of the media. In response, NOAA released a press statement saying, "We fear this video is a very dangerous example and may encourage others to attempt such a response in the future." The press release also stated that trained rescuers have died during similar missions, even though they use the best methods and equipment. It was in reference to the death of a fisherman who had been rescuing whales for 15 years. He died moments after rescuing a whale. Although Sam and Nicholas were successful in their action to save the humpback whale, they were not properly trained and may not have handled it in the best way. The NOAA shared the best practice of performing rescue missions. The best practice for dealing with an entangled whale is to never get into the water with it, as these animals are very powerful and dangerous in close proximity. In addition, every entangled whale is not necessarily in imminent danger, meaning that there is time to wait for the authorized responders and not requiring these types of emergency actions, the agency also stated in the press release. And cutting just the visible lines may not totally free the animal, making it harder for responders to help. Nonetheless, the video became viral and the 2 brave fishermen became known.